What's good, YouTube? It's your boy LB Dino. I appreciate you checking out the vid. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, fact from fiction on the Hunter Biden Twitter files. I gotta react to this shit because niggas been making a freaking big deal out of this stupid shit. So let's see what's the facts.
All right, to the show. Twitter. So, of course, you guys want to know what's going on with Twitter. Counterpoints did a fantastic job of breaking this all down initially. But for those of you who haven't paid attention just yet, let's put this up there on the screen. We basically pulled 4 different tweets from Matt himself. He put out this tweet thread late on Friday night saying thread the Twitter files. Now, we pulled what we thought were some of the most important ones from these Twitter files. He said by 2020, requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, more to review from the Biden team. The reply would come back handled. Furthermore, both parties had access to these censorship tools. For instance, in 2020, requests from the Trump White House and the Biden campaign were received and honored. However, and he points to, this led public policy executives to send out polite WTF queries. Several employees noted that there was tension between the comms and the policy teams who had, quote, little or less control over moderation and the safety and trust teams. And I think really what comes through on the emails so far of what Matt has released here is just...
So basically, Twitter just does whatever the hell these politician niggas want. But Trump will have you, but they banned Trump for what? When, what the fuck? That shit don't make sense to me. They banned this nigga Trump for some stupid shit, saying he incited riots and all that. When they literally working with the nigga behind the scenes. It's so weird, bro. Like, these niggas is all in cahoots together. They all work with each other. Like, I don't know. It's mad. I bet you Trump will have you thinking that. Wait, didn't he come out and say, "Oh, the election should be uh overturned because of this shit"? When he was he was doing the same type of shit. He was he was involved with the shit too. Like, bro, crazy.
Just a complete and total cluster, a inability to be grounded in principle, of clearly being scared off by the WikiLeaks emails, hair on fire, just paranoia without any grounding crystal in any sense of free speech, of the First Amendment, of any consistent application of content moderation. And in both cases, a really gross, just like caving to both requests from the Trump and the Biden team, which show you that people at the top really can work the refs in this way, which I don't think is appropriate. Now, we could talk about the Hunter stuff aside, like what exactly what they were censoring. But, you know, I do also want to say on that front, though, the Biden team refuses to address the Hunter Biden laptop. Then they're like, oh, you know, it could be fake, and they're planting all the stories. Meanwhile, though, Hunter's dick pics, they're flagging for the actual Twitter content. So is it real then? Is that are you admitting the laptop is real?
I mean, the whole way they handled this with, you know, just to give the backstory as a reminder here, the reason that this is so significant is because they took this just heavy-handed, overt approach to censoring the New York Post reporting on this Hunter laptop. Information which the Biden team never denied and which now, long after the fact, has been confirmed as real by multiple news outlets.
This is the shit that's always so funny though. All of these niggas, remember these niggas was saying, oh, Russian, this shit was all Russian disinformation and all of that bullshit, bro. Like, this is how they control y'all niggas. Y'all fall for this stupidness every time. All they gotta do is say Russia, and y'all niggas fall to y'all knees. It's so sad the way our society works, the US works. Bro, they know how to get you like that. All the media gotta do is say Russia. and y'all believe anything they say, son. It's so crazy, bro, that y'all niggas is so gullible.
Yeah.
And yet you had this over-the-top effort by multiple actors to portray this as this is Russian misinformation. It has all the hallmarks of
Know what I'm
Russian
saying?
misinformation. We know, and I'll get to this in a minute, but we know from other reporting that, you know, there was, and from what Mark Zuckerberg himself said, that this was sort of flagged by the FBI, that something like this might be coming out. So we know there was some sort of government involvement there.
All this cap.
But, you know, ultimately, yeah, I think, listen, it is totally appropriate for dick pics of the candidates' sons to be taken out. But what this really reveals is the fact that they didn't actually need the government telling them what and how to censor.
Right.
Right. This is more a story of corporate power. And that's why I think these revelations are interesting. They add some texture and some color to some things that we already knew about how this process ultimately unfolded. But one of the most, you know, noteworthy things that Taibbi found here is that there wasn't actually, that he could find in any of these files, direct government instruction or pressure to, you know, handle the New York Post story in the way that they did.
Of
So
not.
instead, as you said, Sagar, the picture emerges more of a total corporate cluster. It seems like the people who made the initial decision to label this as unsafe, to suspend.
What they wanted is to not be the ones that the whole media was going to point and blame to be the reason Donald Trump got elected again. That is the shit that made all of these people scared as hell. Made Bernie Sanders become a flubbering punk on the debate stage. And it made all the media outlets and all the candidates not want to attack Joe Biden, senile ass corpse. That's what happens when you treat everything with baby guns that should be treated as a real debate. You're supposed to present all the facts, speak truth into power. That niggas is ass. Like, bro.
Accounts that were sharing the information to keep people even from DMing it to each other, which is a measure that they normally only reserve for extreme circumstances, things like child pornography. That decision seems to have been made by people who potentially didn't really get that this was going to be a political firestorm with far-reaching implications. Jack Dorsey, who was, you know, head of Twitter at the time, but kind of an absentee owner, really wasn't read into this whole situation as it unfolded. Then once they've already taken these incredibly...
And that's why this nigga Elon got in there and got all of these niggas up out of there, bro. And that's one thing I applaud for him. That weird ass nigga from doing. He got all them lame ass niggas up out of there, bro. Because y'all niggas was doing a whole bunch of stupidness, thinking y'all had all the power in the world. Now son came and bought his shit, and I bought this shit up, and now that's his shit. So y'all lame ass niggas doing weird shit, y'all get up out of there. Now he's doing the weird shit.
heavy-handed approaches. Then they start go, oh my God, what have we done? How do we walk this back? I'm not sure we can justify this. And ultimately it ends with Jack himself posting a thread and saying basically like, we fucked this up. So that's what comes out here. I mean, you know, they talk about both campaigns had access to these tools. I think that.
And one thing I want to say, bro, one thing I really want to say, Jack Dorsey, you bitch ass nigga, you got some culpability in this shit too. Don't try to run away like you ain't had nothing to do with it, nigga. Let's take that word out. You got these niggas running your company like a bunch of idiots. You heard? So that shit is on your head too, Jack Dorsey. You don't get a pass for that, nigga. Nigga try to be all, like she said, all absentee, whatever the hell. Absentee owner. Nigga, no. You hired them niggas. You responsible for that shit too. Trust.
The tools exist in that political candidates of either party are given any sort of like special access to this is not appropriate. There's clearly like very little concern on Twitter about First Amendment implications. They're thinking more about like their terms of service. And clearly, you know, you have more Democrats than Republicans at Twitter, so they're more amenable to like arguments coming from the left of center and from the Democratic Party team. And, ultimately you end up with this sort of catastrophic situation that they more or less bumbled into. And that's kind of, you have ideological actors, people like Vijaya Gotti, who clearly has like an ideological view. And so she, because everybody else is just like chaos and sort of like flying by the seat of their pants, it seems like she's able to assert her will here. So the last thing I'll say, because I do think this is really interesting, is you have conservatives now who are sort of beginning to recognize the problem with corporate power. You now have corporate boardrooms that in certain instances, culturally certainly are a lot.
I mean, does it matter though? Because they're not gonna stop loving corporations. That's their whole thing. Like, it's the whole ideology, Like,
Fight against them. Some of these are just because that's where the dollars are. That's like what the business decision makes sense. And so you have this beginning of a reckoning of, oh my God, maybe these actors are too powerful. But you don't have a fully fleshed out critique of corporate power. So you end up with situations like this where the reaction is more about these particular individuals, like this is a good guy, this is a bad guy, Elon's a good guy, Vijaya Gadde is a bad guy, rather than looking overall at the structure and saying like, this is really bad for everyone to have these social media companies having so much power, so much control, and subject to the whims of one or two or a handful of executives.
Well, it's so capricious, especially what comes through on that.
Yeah.
That they just decided on a whim. And let's throw the next one up there on the screen, because this is where it all becomes important. From Ken Klippenstein and Lee Fang's great reporting about the Truth Cops and the specific coordination, at least at the sub-governmental agency level of the DHS and of social media companies flagging
Truth Cops,
misinformation.
How corny can these niggas be?
Flagging like Afghan withdrawal stories as potential misinformation. I think this actually shows you, which is that the FBI, the DHS, can shape the environment under a bipartisan administration, as they did under the Trump administration, by coming to Facebook and coming to Twitter and saying, hey, we know that there's going to be some hack operation, possibly in the waning days of the election. And that's what puts Facebook and Twitter on hair trigger alert, which effectively leads Facebook. Facebook doesn't get enough scrutiny. They basically made it unfindable on their platform.
Yeah.
So they may not abandon it, but that's still pretty bad.
Well,
I mean, that's straight censorship
they took,
too.
frankly, a much more intelligent approach from a PR perspective. Because what Twitter did was so brazen and so undeniable and so heavy-handed, it would have been much more intelligent for them just to suppress the news, which is something that, they do all the time. And that Elon himself has floated actually doing more, something that YouTube does, something clearly that Facebook does as well.
Definitely YouTube.
So it's like, we're just going to make it so that this doesn't get shared all that much. But you're going to sound like a conspiracy theorist if you're out there talking about like shadow bans and algorithmic suppression, and you're never going to be able to really prove it because none of this is transparent whatsoever.
And that is the gateway into the apparatus, which is only being built more so from 2020 onward, of flagging, quote, misinformation. Like, who knows what these people are downranking and explicitly shadow banning behind the scenes. I do hope it should be some sort of catalyst towards taking the power out of these
niggas ain't doing nothing,
and just saying, look, clearly this is not working.
It's never gonna happen. Wanna know why? Because niggas keep voting for these niggas that don't care about these type of things, bro. And the only way these type of things could change is with regulation. Elon Musk ain't doing shit, bro. He's just making it so the bias is towards the right now on his platform. Alright, but yeah, this nigga Elon ain't about shit. Fuck that nigga.
The Trump team can work the refs. The Biden team can work the refs. I mean, the Biden stuff, clearly doxing actually is illegal, and posting private communications and private photos and all of that. Okay, fine. So under a very consistent, standard, uncontroversial content moderation, should that be taken down immediately? That said, out of that, like, where's the line come from? With emails from the laptop, which were immediately blocked. Also, the White House press secretary's account was literally locked by Twitter, which they point to in the Twitter files. This is outrageous. We have got to come to some form of decision-making tree where they don't even have the ability to work on this. And because absent that, in the vacuum, you have everybody, people in power, celebrities even, Taibbi says, working to behind the scenes. And you also clearly have Vijaya Gadde and this other fellow, Yoel Roth, who's given an interview yesterday to Kara Swisher at the Times. And it's amazing to me how unrepentant this man is. He continues to defend taking down the Babylon Bee account. He wanted to ban the Libs of TikTok account, defends booting Trump off the platform, basically reveals wanted to take Trump off the platform 100 days previously to January 6th when he was an active candidate for president of the United States. Again, these such people, they should not have the power to make this decision at a global level. And I think that perhaps this could be.
And so who hired these niggas? Jack Dorsey. You know what I'm saying? He's the type of niggas that, you know what I'm saying? He's the type of people that get put into positions. You got to blame Jack Dorsey.
Catalyst for that. I hope so.
Let me just say one more thing about what was revealed in these threads, and what I think the most important takeaway is. It's that it didn't actually require the government getting involved for this to be an issue, and that's really, to me, you know, the crux of the problem here is corporate power. It's monopoly.
And really, nigga, basically these people never been involved with a team before in their life. They want to be a part of something so bad, and they love being a part of Team Democrat and Team Republican. They not athletic. They couldn't do sports and all that, so they want to be in these teams now. Corny niggas. But the problem is, they taking this shit like it's a real sport. Nigga, this is real life. This is not a game. I keep saying this in these videos. This is real life, bro. Stop playing games with niggas' real lives.
Fact that whether it's Elon Musk or Jack Dorsey or Vijay Agadi or Mark Zuckerberg or whoever it is, you can't just have all of these decisions, which are really important in terms of having a functioning democracy. I mean, ultimately, that is the reality. It mattered that this New York Post story was censored. God only knows what else they were doing behind the scenes, what information was being suppressed and what was being elevated. And all of that. You should not.
And would he show all of that?
Have these really critical and sometimes truly very difficult and very borderline decisions being made in secret by a handful of individuals. At the very least, we should have transparency. And so, you know, we're going to get to the reaction to this, which was revealing in and of itself. I think Elon, you know, I don't know that he had like pure motives in releasing all of this. I think he was trying to distract from some other stuff. But what does it matter? I mean, I think it is important to have as much information about how all of this works and how it all went down at that time in real time as possible, so that we can think more clearly about what the best solutions are to dealing with what is an issue of corporate power, what is an issue of, you know, when you have total lack of transparency and back channeling from the federal government, which, as we put up the report from Ken Klippenstein, we do know from other reporting was happening in other instances as well. How do we actually deal with that in a democratic society so that we can all have a say in how these lines are drawn and, you know, what falls on?
Facts. Every election, there should be something in that shit that we have to vote on. What do they call it? Ranked choice voting? Or something like that. I don't know what the hell that shit is called. But it should be something that everybody in the United States has to vote on in every election. Word. And that becomes law. Without the bullshit Congress, without the bullshit Senate, all that bullshit. We need to have something like that in our elections, bro.
On which side of the line. Revenge porn of Hunter Biden, that should be taken down. I don't think anyone serious would argue that, you know, that should ultimately be left up. The question is, should any of these candidates have special access, special ability to work the refs at a company as important as Twitter? I would say that the answer to that is no.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2020.
Well, that's this video reaction. Let's get into the next one, Church.